Hey, busy business people. I am here today with another entrepreneur taking action, Kristin Zhivago. Maybe I said that right this time. She has spent decades helping established businesses grow their revenue, and I'm getting the scoop today on how she does it. Okay, so Kristin, digital marketing is obviously very complicated, right? So, why do you think it's important for clients to be educated about the digital marketing services that they want to buy and implement?
Okay, you froze for a minute on my side, but it's great. It's fine. I got the question. Uh, One of the things I've noticed, I've started the agency in 2017 after spending, as you said, decades helping CEOs and entrepreneurs grow their companies as a revenue coach. And what I saw, the reason I started the agency is because everybody had these wonderfully established businesses, but they just were like deer in the headlights when it came to SEO and social. And SEO in particular is difficult because Google does a lot of things. They have 200 criteria they check you on, and they change the algorithm something like 4 to 8 times a day. But they don't tell you what they're doing because they don't want somebody to game the system. So it's tough, and there's a lot of little nuances to it. So you have to do it right. But people were they were hiring vendors who weren't giving them information, liked to keep them in the dark, especially the online ads people that for some reason they were sort of like, I'm in my cave, leave me alone. I'll let you know when I need your help. And we just don't do that. Everything is open, transparent. We explain things. I want them to learn what they're doing because you can't manage what you don't understand. So I have one of my most popular articles on my blog, on my website, is how websites are constructed. So people really understand the difference between a URL and a domain, and that you have to be hosted in two places. We get a lot of clients, even in well-established companies, and they don't know where their site's hosted. They don't know how to get into the back end of their WordPress. That's not good. That's your company as far as the world is concerned. So we really do spend a lot of time making sure clients understand. First, we make sure we understand and we're managing it properly, and then we help clients understand it.
Yeah, it's really important. I mean, it's like your website is your virtual office. I mean, it's like you need to take care of it and secure it with the same level that you would an in-person office.
Yeah,
Like I know I've ran into that. I don't know how many times where they'll have someone that worked on their site years ago and they still have administrative access to the website, or they are the primary administrator and the client doesn't even have a login. And it's
exactly. That's
crazy.
not good. That's right.
Mm-mm. And I've even had to go to court and testify and try to explain to like a 200-year-old judge what it is to own different assets because they had an employee that had been let go, and that employee had registered everything: the domain names, the website logins, the social media accounts. It was all
Using
owned
all
by
of
that
their
employee.
own. Yeah, yeah, that's not good.
And I was trying to
Yeah,
explain. The guy's like, "Well, why don't you just give it back? Like, it's not that simple."
yeah. If you don't have the secret code, you can't get in. Yeah.
So it's why their attorney brought me in to try and explain how the internet works. It was like, oh, this is painful.
Yeah, we got a real problem with that. The generation gap. I've been doing tech for, I don't know, 40 years. I mean, I got fascinated with it years and years ago. And I was actually the first woman to sell machine shop tools in the United States, as far as I know.
Oh,
And I
wow.
learned a really big lesson there. They just gave me a catalog, and I was wearing a mini skirt, and they said, go for it. And I got to this one old shop, and this big foreman came out, this old guy, and all the people shut down the machines. All the guys came out to see what I was doing there. And the old guy said, okay, all right, you're selling machine shop tools. Tell me how this drill bit is better than the one I'm using now. I didn't have an answer for him. I just had a catalog. I was so embarrassed. I mean, I was a senior in high school and I was really embarrassed. And I walked out to my car and I thought, I'm going to learn everything I can about tech and selling. And I've been doing that ever since. It's
Yep.
the
Well,
right
I mean,
thing to do.
that's how
You
it goes.
have to understand tech now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a generational thing either. I meet young people all the time. I mean, it's like I know more about technology than my kids do. So I think we're about to see a younger generation that
Oh,
actually
that's
is less
interesting.
tech inclined. I mean, they're 17 and 19. And I think the interesting thing that I've seen is it's like I'm in that in between generation. We didn't grow up with technology in high school. I'm 38, so we grew up with it a little bit in college and more as like an adult with kids and that kind of thing. Cell phones, smart technology started coming out, but I didn't grow up with it. So the ability to not have to go to the library and just hit Google and learn things was like, yes, this is amazing. But now, like my 17 and 19-year-old, no interest. Like it's like, well, there's no point in looking that up. It's available if I want to later, so I will later if it's relevant then. But I'm not going
Yeah,
to
people
research it
are
now.
sort of, yeah, they're stopping learning because they figure they can
Mhm.
look it up. Even while they're on the phone with somebody, they can just quickly Google it and say, oh, yeah, yeah, I understand that.
I
Because they
mean,
just
even
read.
the like old debates when you'd be watching TV or whatever or a movie, and you're like, I've seen that guy somewhere in something. And you'd used to have like 15, 20 minutes of the family debating and trying to think it all up. Now you just Google it, and it's like, oh yeah, he was in this movie, and this movie, and this
Yeah,
TV
yeah.
show, and it's like, yeah, of course. I mean, like it's interesting. It's a very interesting phenomenon, which is kind of a sidetrack, but it just goes to show how much you really need to pay attention to when it comes to
Yeah, well, if you're
technology
in
and
business
hiring
and
people.
you're using it, I mean, you can't do business without the internet now. In fact, it's not just having a website, it's also that your whole business runs on the cloud. Our whole business
Mhm.
runs on the cloud. And if you don't know how to manage all of those resources and understand the particulars, and like you said, having access to your own site and not having just one person do all that, you're you're really in trouble and you don't know it.
I mean, they're saying now that it's going to be a similar thing. Like back when we used to have to convince people that they even needed to have a website. We're having another round of that with the metaverse now, where it's like if you haven't like claimed your metaverse space, that you're going to be in the same as a business owner that didn't have a website, and that's going to happen within the next year. Like
Yep.
technology is just evolving.
Yep. I agree with you. Yep.
I mean, we're even like even events and stuff like that. Like we're hosting our first metaverse event on August the 8th, and we plan on doing that again every like 6 to 8 weeks with different speakers. And it's in GatherTown, which is a little bit easier to use than like Facebook's metaverse, but still, I mean, it's you have to dip your toe in and get used to that kind of technology. I mean, even this recording on podcasts, it's like this is different.
You're right.
So I think that is amazing. Now, I know something else is like most people love the you mentioned being a sales coach, so I'm going to kind of transition here. Most people love the services they do, but they really hate selling things to people. So like do you have some tips to help people, close customers without having to be all salesy and pitchy?
Actually, customers are totally turned off to salesy and pitchy. That went out the window, I don't know, 10 years ago. I mean, nobody loved it anyway before. Nobody wanted to be sold to. It feels very manipulative and degrading. But it got worse when the internet really came to full force, and you could spend 80% of get 60 to 80% of your questions answered. I was one of the first people to say that publicly in a speech in Denmark that I was giving to a big sales group. Um, you get those questions answered, and then you just have a few specific questions, and we're talking about high scrutiny products right now and services. um, but even for the smaller ones, I mean, what's shocking to me is how poor a job people do of answering questions. So, and you see that all the time in Amazon. You go there and you're reading the reviews and everything, and then you still have a very specific question. And it's even something that the manufacturer absolutely should have told you, like, how big is it outside and inside, or what's it going to fit into, or whatever. And you see those questions answered by other customers because the manufacturer
Yep.
didn't do it. So selling is not selling anymore. Selling is this: it's understanding the mindset of the customer when they set out to buy. That's more important than personas, anything else that you can look at. And I define the mindset. I call it mindset driven marketing. I define the mindset as their desires, their concerns, and their questions. So they have very specific needs, things that they absolutely have to have. And then they have concerns because they've been burned before, or they got another version of it and they were so disappointed or whatever. So they have concerns. And then they have very specific questions. If you know those things because you've interviewed your customers, which I talk about in my book, which is called Roadmap to Revenue, how to sell the way your customers want to buy. If you just interview 5 to 7 customers who have already bought from you, and I do this for all my clients before I start any work for them, and ask them open-ended questions. What do you think of our product? How was the experience? If you were the CEO of the company tomorrow, what's the first thing you would fix? What trends do you see in the market right now? What are your biggest challenges? What did you have in mind? What problem you're trying to solve when you bought this? You get this data. It's really good data. And again, it's just a few customers, 5 to 7 of a given type. And we actually transcribe these conversations word for word, and then we break them up in categories so that they're anonymous. And I can promise that to the person I'm interviewing right up front, so they speak freely. This is all outlined, by the way, absolute point by point. All the instructions are in chapter 3 of my book. So you interview them, and then you know your customers and you know what they want from you. And then you put that at the top of your website and you have it in everything that you do. That becomes your brand. And speaking of branding, I'll add one more thing. I have this famous quote from me that is, branding is the promise that you make. Your brand is the promise that you keep. And your brand is always a conditional statement. They're real good at this, but they're not so good at that. And you have to know what those two things are, because you can then put the real good at this part at the top of your website, and they're not so good at that is the thing that you fix in the background and make it better and better until you can actually promote it. So you can learn all of this stuff. I was talking to a potential client the other day, and he was kind of a financial guy, and he was worried that he didn't understand selling, but he was reading my book. Between our conversations, we talked, and then a few weeks later we talked again, and he said, it's all logical. It's like, yeah, if you understand the customer and what they're trying to do, then, and you try to give it to them, well, guess what? You don't have to sell anything. You just put it out there and they'll go, yeah, that's me. Okay, she understands what I want. Fine, good. I want this one. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even answering questions I know is a big one. Like, one of the things I hear all the time is, should I list my pricing on my website? Because that's one of the biggest questions that every single client has is like price and timeline every time.
Yeah, anything you can do to give them some kind of representation of your price is a good thing, if you can.
Well, I think we're moving into, I mean, not just that they don't want to be sold to, but that there's so much competition now. I mean, you can hire companies from all over the world at different price ranges and stuff. There's so much competition, there's so much information. It's so easy to shop around that I think we're also hitting something where it's like being more direct wins. I mean, it's not just, sales pitches and things like that, but it's like, hey, let me educate you on kind of what we can help with, or requiring a phone call before you'll give them any questions or answer emails. I've encountered that a lot more here lately, and it's so annoying. I'll be like, I can't find the answer on the website. So I'm like, but I'm really interested. I'm just going to send them an email and I'm going to ask. And then they're like, well, we could answer that, but we'd love to get on a call with you. And I'm like, no.
Just answer the damn question. Yeah, I agree. And
Yep.
people don't like getting on the phone if they can avoid it. I mean, they'd much rather use chat, and every site should have chat. I mean, that's just a normal thing now. So you need to somehow set it up so they can chat with you, even if it's 9 to 5 and you leave a message the rest of the time. Because they don't really trust the contact form on your website, because a lot of people don't get back to people on those. You kind of have to be.
I mean, we've even started moving the contact form down into the footer, because like all you get from the contact form is spam.
Yeah.
So we have like a different form that's like book a discovery call or something along those lines, where it's like, you're getting on a call with a human to talk about buying a thing. Like that's the intent of that form. And that's helped a lot with spam and like bad requests. But then another tool I really love is Video Ask. So if you can't man a like chat around the clock or even 9 to 5 or whatever, then it puts that little thing in the bottom where you can make a personal video, and you can be like, hey, do you have a question about something? And you start by waving so that down in the corner it shows that little preview.
Yeah.
So you like pop up and you're like, hi, do you have a question about anything? What can I help you with today? And then they can respond through video, audio, or text. So that has worked really well. We usually get quite a few requests off of that. Same thing for any clients we've implemented it for. And you actually respond. So like one of the things I think that is really bad is like the chat messages things where it acts like, oh, I'm going to get to talk to a real person. And then it's a bot.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
And then you're like,
you can't do that. You can't fool people and expect them to trust you. It doesn't work. You've already broken the promise. You've already ruined their trust, So you have to earn their trust.
Or even the ones where it's like it acts like a live thing for half a minute. And then it's like, we don't have any operators available right now. Please send your message.
Like, well,
and it turns
I've
into
been talking to a machine.
And it's like,
okay.
Yeah. So it's like, I love having live chat, but only if you actually are live or you're very transparent that, hey, we're only live during these hours. And exactly like what you just said, like man at 9 to 5, be clear about that, say what's going to happen outside of that. So it's like, if I don't want to do the form, I can come back tomorrow at 9 and be able to actually talk to a human.
Yeah.
So I think that is like really important. Well, I know we're kind of getting up on our time, and I had one more question I really wanted to ask. Like, why do you think it is difficult for most companies, especially established businesses, to gain traction with digital marketing and actually get sales?
There's a couple of, common mistakes that people make. The first mistake is that they don't talk to their customers. So I don't care what channel you use and your website's included or your sales pitch or anything. If you don't know what the customer wants, you won't be able to sell to them successfully. You'll just be doing more marketing blah, blah. And we've all seen marketing blah, blah. It doesn't apply to us. And we just scroll past it. We're like, okay, fine. You don't get me. Okay, I'm out of here and I'm never coming back because I'm on a quest. I'm going to find it. And one of the articles I wrote recently was the whole SEO search mentality, which makes you think that you're going to be able to find it if you just keep looking and modifying your search term. So you assume that what you want is out there and you just have to find it. So that's the competition too, because that means that they come, they see you. If you don't immediately address their stuff, they just say, I'm out of here, gone. So that's a big problem. Another problem is they go to one channel, they go to one expert, and that one expert, SEO or social or online ads or whatever, they say, okay, we'll do all of this for you, and your revenue is going to go up and everything's going to be beautiful. And a year later, or however long their patience holds out, nothing has moved. There are no, if we don't, our whole team lives for leads. That's what we do. Our goal is to get qualified leads into your company. And if you're not getting qualified leads, then your digital marketing is failing. It could be the channel, it could be the message, it could be a lot of things, but you just have to say, if you don't give it a good 3 months if it doesn't work. But one channel by itself never works as well as being available in several other places, or even running ads for people who are been to your site, for example. That's a good thing to do. And another mistake people make is they don't follow up, like you said earlier, on the qualified leads. If there really is somebody in that buying mode at that minute, you got to jump on it. And you can raise your revenues massively by doing that. And you don't have to sell them. They don't want to be sold. You just say, how can I help? That's it. How can I help? And they'll say, well, I'm looking for this and that. And now you're in a conversation and you're answering their questions. If you can do it for them, great. If you can't, great. That's how real sales get started and get completed.
I mean, there was so much power in a lot of those things that you said. I mean, it was especially the qualified leads, and I feel like that's something most people don't really understand. It's like you're not just trying to get like more website traffic and more time on page and more social engagement and all that kind of stuff. Like those things are okay to keep an eye on, but even just leads. Like, I can't tell you how many people I know that go to marketing agencies and they're like, yeah, they've generated me 100 leads in the last month. And I'm like, okay, but how many of those leads
Right.
closed?
Conversions.
How many of those might close in the next like 6 months or
Yeah.
9 months? Or it's like, because that's one thing you miss too. It's like 100 leads came in this month and 10 of them closed. But there may be 20 or 30 more that if you nurture them for 2 or 3 more months. So it's like you really have to have a metric for qualified leads. These are good people. We can work them in. So I mean, you may end up with 100 leads and 80 of those be qualified, but only 10 bought. So it's like if you're not paying attention to that metric. So I think that is really important. So I know that just kind of slipped by right there, and I wanted to make sure people caught it.
No, that's good. And conversions to me, it's okay. I said we live for leads, but they better be qualified and they better close. And we do everything we can. We even give our clients a special dashboard where they can go in anytime and see how many people, the leads, what's closed, and so on. We work on that with clients. It's a joint effort because we have to know from them which one of these things closed. It's really important to say which one of these converted, and then that's your revenue. Then you have your ROI, your return on your investment. Very important to follow that all the way through.
And a lot of clients don't realize that that's something they have to do. They actually have to work with their marketing agency to provide that kind of feedback. Like, it doesn't matter how fancy the tools are. There's only so far you can see in that, life cycle of the lead. And it's like once you hand them off to the company and you're like, hey, they're ready for you, you can't just not get any feedback on that. And I think like there's so many people that miss that because they just don't want to put the time into it.
But that's the whole thing.
Like,
What's the point? What is the point without doing that? And then you learn from those leads.
Yep.
Okay, these are the ones that closed, and these were the situations, and we talk to the salespeople who are doing it. And by the way, our most successful client replaced his salespeople with customer service people. So all they do is get on the phone and make it easy for the customer to buy. They answer questions. They don't push. They're not on a quota. They're not trying to get another sale this month so they can get up to the higher level and all that junk that gets in the way of just treating people like human beings and giving them what they want.
Oh, that is so powerful. Yeah, I love that so much. So if somebody's listening and they're like, yeah, I'm probably making a bunch of those mistakes, and yeah, digital marketing is really hard. Who do you like to work with, and kind of how do you help?
We like to work with people that are established. They've got a good product or service. They have good people. Most companies have good people in my experience, and good processes. So they're established companies doing a good job. And they just need help in this area. They need to close more sales. We love it when things happen. Like we have a company in Southern California that their biggest problem was cash flow because they didn't have enough business. And within a month or two, their biggest problem was meeting the demand. That's what we look for all the time. I'm trying to find that hockey stick for all of our customers. My husband always talked about that, that hockey stick revenue growth. So that's really what we look for.
Oh, that's a good way to think about that hockey stick. So where can someone find you? Like what web address, social? I'm assuming you're everywhere.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you can just go to Google and type in Kristin Zhivago and everything comes up. My website, our website is zhivagopartners.com. And by the way, I call the company partners because all of the people who work in the company are experts in their area, and we partner with the clients to raise their revenue. That's what it's all about. My book, Roadmap to Revenue, is on Amazon. You can buy it there. That's pretty much it. I'm obviously on social all the time. And, my blog articles are very helpful. If you want to learn about marketing, that's a good place to go. And I have a lot of podcasts that I've done.
I know I just grabbed a copy of your book yesterday, so I'm waiting on Amazon to bring it to me in the next day or two. So I'm excited
and I
about
should
that.
say,
and I'll make sure I have like links anywhere around this video too, so people can get to it and click.
I should say one thing about the book. I knew it was going to be available in Kindle and Audible and all of that, but I will say that there are some pretty complicated charts or diagrams, not diagrams, but they're sort of a spreadsheet kind of thing that says, here's the high scrutiny sale, here's the low scrutiny sale, here's the buying process for these types of sales. And it's really helpful to look at those, and they're best done in the print version. I hate to say it as technical as I am. So it's just better to get it in the print version. Sorry, guys.
Yep, I always get the print versions of everything for that exact reason, that it's like the really good people have resources in there that you need to be able to look at. So I always get the print version, and then from there I can go and get the other versions if I want. And a lot of them will have like resource pages and stuff as well. So it's like go to like book.com/the resources, and you can get, like some of those tools and things. So it's important to look for those as well. So, but this has been absolutely amazing. I'll make sure that all of your links are in there. You had so many great tips. I read a few of your blog articles. You're absolutely right. People should go and read some of those. They're amazing. And thank you so much
You're
for coming
welcome.
on.
I appreciate it.
All right. Well, until next time, guys, make sure you head over to etatoday.zone to learn more from experts like Kristin that can help you build a business that enables your lifestyle instead of taking over your life. Until next time.